Hello everyone. Thank you for joining today's session, Managing Telecom-scale SAP Data in Cloud Migration Programs. I am Sabari, Associate SAP DI Consultant at Mobilitions. Over the next few minutes, I'll set the context for why cloud migrations in telecom is fundamentally different. Across the telecom environments, organizations are under enormous pressure to modernize IT landscapes, reduce operational cost, improve agility, and support new digital business models. For many, this journey inevitably leads to SAP cloud migrations and S/4HANA transformations. On the surface, this looks like a technology decision, moving from on-premise to cloud, upgrading systems, and modernizing infrastructure. But in telecom environments, very quickly, this turns into something far more complex. The real challenge here is not the infrastructure, it's the data. Telecom environments operate on massive volumes of historical, transactional, and regulatory data. This data is deeply embedded into day-to-day operations like billing, customer care, and revenue assurance. And how this data is handled ultimately determines whether a cloud migration becomes a smooth transition or a high-risk disruption. That's exactly what we will explore today. Why telecom scale data changes the rule of cloud migration, and where does the regular approach struggle, and what it makes migration predictable and achieve zero downtime. Now, let's quickly start with why SAP data in telecom is fundamentally different. Unlike any other industries, telecom organizations are not dealing with few years of transaction data. We are often talking about decades of historical data like billing records, usage data, customer master data, contracts, and regulatory information. These data exist not in isolation, but across tightly connected business processes. Billing links to finance, finance links to revenue recognition, customer data links to multiple OSS and BSS systems. On top of that, regulatory and audit requirements mean large portions of this data must remain accessible for many years. It can't simply be archived or discarded without careful consideration. This is where many cloud migration assumptions break down. Not all SAP data can be treated the same way. High volume tables behave very differently during migration, and their dependencies introduce risk if they are moved incorrectly. In telecom, data itself becomes the biggest driver of complexity, cost, and risk in cloud migration programs. Next, let's see when data starts to slow everything down. This is where migration programs often starts to feel the real pressure. Initially, timelines look reasonable. Cutover windows are planned. But once high volume data enters the picture, things change really quick. Data loads take longer than expected. Migration windows are stretched beyond the planned downtime. Large volume data slows down the system performance during the cutover. Business users may encounter missing, delayed, or inconsistent data during testing or early production runs. In telecom, even short disruptions can have serious consequences like billing delays, customer dissatisfaction, revenue leakage, and compliance risks. At this point, migration team often find themselves reacting instead of controlling the process. What was planned as a structured transformation begins to feel like a firefighting exercise. This is the moment when organizations realize that traditional SAP migration approaches are not designed for telecom scale data. Successful telecom migration reach a turning point when teams fundamentally rethink their approach to data. Instead of asking how fast we can move everything, the question becomes what data actually needs to move, when, and how. This leads to a data-led migration strategy. Not all data move at once. High volume and low usage data are handled differently from active operational data. Migration is phased and selective rather than monolithic. Parallel processing becomes essential to handle extreme data volumes efficiently. Data movements are designed around business priorities and not just technical convenience. This shift from system-led to data-led migration is what makes near zero downtime achievable in telecom environments. It transforms migration from a risky Big Bang event into a controlled and well-orchestrated process. When SAP data is managed correctly, the migration experience looks very different. Core SAP system remains available for business users. High volume data is migrated incrementally instead of all at once. Critical business operations like billing, customer care, and financial postings continue without disruption. From business perspective, customers don't feel that the migration is happening in the background. From IT perspectives, team gain visibility and control over the process. Instead of reacting to unexpected issues, migration becomes predictable. Risks are identified yearly, timelines are reliable, and confidence increases across both IT and business stakeholders. This is what near zero downtime really means in telecom. Not just technical availability, but true business continuity throughout the migration journey. It's important to recognize that telecom-scale SAP data migrations are not generic projects. The data volumes are extreme, the dependencies are complex, and downtime tolerance is minimal. These characteristics require more than standard SAP migration tools or approaches. Specialized expertise matters. Experience with telecom data models, proven methods for handling massive tables, and industrialized process that scale reliably. Teams that have handled telecom scale data migrations before understand where the risks hide, how performance bottleneck emerge, and how to design migration that does not disrupt the business. At this scale, experience is not nice to have. It is a critical success factor. A good example of why this expertise matters is a recent US telecom engagement where we, Mobilitions, migrated over 700 million records across multiple business critical systems. This was not executed as a one-off project. The migration approach was intentionally engineered as a repeatable SAP native framework built to handle extreme data volumes, complex interdependencies, and tight downtime constraints. That same framework is now proven, scalable, and reusable, making it applicable to any enterprise facing high volume, high risk SAP data migrations. To wrap this up, for organizations with telecom scale data, moving to SAP Cloud is no longer a matter of choice. What really matters is how well the journey is planned and how predictable it is. What ultimately decides the success of any SAP Cloud migration is data readiness. When the data is understood, prepared, and managed the right way, migration becomes less risky and starts becoming structured and confident transformations. With the right data-led approach, predictable timelines, and telecom scale expertise, SAP migrations can be executed with minimal disruption and built specifically for complexity and scale of telecom environments. Thank you for joining today's session. I hope this session has provided some useful perspective on why managing data is key for successful telecom scale SAP cloud migration and how organizations can turn data from a risk into a foundation for long-term success. Please feel free to reach out if you need any further clarification or would like to discuss this in more detail.